So yeah, thank you guys for dropping by my stream. Uh, if you're new to how I sort of set up my stream, it's a little different from how OC or Alex starts. But essentially, what I like looking at is fundamental analysis, just to get a good idea for what the candlesticks are actually telling us on the charts. So first things first, crypto fear and greed index. We are currently at 14. I think this is the same as yesterday. But what's important here is we did increase from 10 earlier this week. So I believe Wednesday, Tuesday, it was at 10. So the fact we went up, people are gaining some confidence, but we're still in extreme fear, and it's a pretty decent buying opportunity. Granted, we could still have some more downside, and I've been on record saying this, but still a decent buying opportunity regardless. Now, looking at the Bitcoin exchange liquidation map, so this tracks essentially the leverage in the market, and we can see that there's over 1.93 billion to the upside, with only about 790 million to the downside. So clearly, there's an imbalance to the upside. We do have clusters, and given that we just had market open, not looking at the charts, we're likely going to take these clusters out. Let's refresh. It does look like it wants to take out these upside clusters, so we could see a move back to about 67,000. Going to the 7 day, you do have about an even level of liquidity, and you do have more clusters to the downside. So going into the weekend, I do see a potential dump. Looking at the 30 day, everything above the 30 day is going to be imbalanced to the upside. But what's important is you have leverage stacking up much higher to the upside, right? So we could see some upside, then some downside, then some upside. Looking at our RSI heat map, we're in neutral. Doesn't tell us a lot, but we do have some interesting coins here that we can look at later. So something like Bitcoin Cash. Let's not look at Pippin. ZEC is also in weak, so we could look at those. Go to the 12 hour, very similar story. A ton is also something we can look at. 24 hour, we just got out of week, and you do have quite a lot of altcoins sitting stronger than Bitcoin itself, which is probably over here. Yeah. So yeah, going to the 1 week, it's gonna say week. Yeah. So in terms of weekly, Bitcoin and a lot of these coins are probably a fairly decent buy. Now looking at our liquidation heat map on the 24 hour, we do have a hotspot at about 67,000, and that lines up with our liquidation map. So if I go back to the 1 day, you can see the cluster ends at about 67,000, which lines up with this hotspot. Going to the 48 hour, you have a hotspot at 69,000, so that is a short Monday target, possibly. Yep. Same on the 3 day. Looking at the 1 week, your shorts and longs are about the same in terms of liquidity, which isn't that useful. That just means we'll have volatility, and you have a lot more shorts stacked to the upside than to the downside 2 weeks and up. So that about does our FA. Now, another important fundamental thing that we have to consider is the fact that US PPI came out, and it was pretty bad. Uh, I believe the actual is 3.6%, whereas the expected is 3%, whereas GDP printed a lower number, which essentially means that the US is heading to stagflation because it costs a lot more to produce items, and yet the productivity is not increasing. It's creating this very terrible feedback effect that you really don't want in an economy. So the only ways to really solve stagflation, according to like traditional economics, is to have supply side policies, lower taxes for businesses to incentivize investment within the business itself. Hey Gambit, welcome. And yeah, but generally speaking, our fundamental analysis is saying we want downside toward the weekend and maybe some upside going into the trading today. So let me just pull up the charts because that is the exciting part. So here on the 5 minutes, we did dump. Now, something that I've been tracking ever since the start of the week was this descending channel on the 4 hour of Bitcoin. So we can see it's in the descending channel. But another thing that I've been tracking is the fact that After this bearish divergence and we got a ribbon twist, we have been in a sort of a micro descending channel. Now, it is possible that we break down from this channel, right? Because we did bounce off support. I did say that right here is one support, we have another support, and then another support. So we've basically broken past two supports, and we're back down to the previous week low, bounced off of it, and we're also sort of at that neckline of our inverse head and shoulders that we were able to spot on the 1 hour. So there is a good chance we pump back up to about 67,000. Let me turn off my indicator so we can better see the drawing itself. And 67,000 would put us right smack dab at about the top part of the current descending channel. So if you pump back up to the top of this descending channel breakout, you meet resistance at the top of the more macro descending channel, right? Before you're able to see any real moves, which could result in a capitulation back down to these supports, and that wouldn't be entirely fun. Now, if we turn off all the drawings and turn on our indicators, what we can see right now is that the 4 hour still wants downside. However, one thing to note, and for those who are new here, and by the way, if you guys have any questions or coins you want me to look at, just let me know. I'm not gonna bite, I promise. We can see that our MVP ribbon, so that's momentum, is overall bullish despite the fact that we are now twisting bearish. Now, the reason we can say that is because I added a fluid zero line, which essentially tells you the average of the ribbon, and right now anything above the fluid zero line is considered bullish, anything below is considered bearish. You can see that we are above the fluid zero line, and the only time you could really say that you're bearish is when you break below it with such magnitude, such as this, right? But it becomes easier to break above the fluid zero line if it's lower than the actual zero line. So you can see it works as a pretty decent support and resistance, right? We broke below it, but quickly bounced above it. Broke below it, quickly bounced above it, broke below it, bottomed out. And now we'll see if we stay above it. If we stay above it, that becomes really good, because you can see, for example, here on the 5 minutes, that when you can stay above it, right, it usually leads to a very strong move to the upside. Same thing if it's resistance, right? If this is very high up, then it will act as resistance. We'll probably get a scalp in maybe at around if it's 9:30 a.m. EST, probably around 10 a.m. EST, maybe 10:15 a.m. EST. I think yesterday I sent a signal or a scalp signal at 10:17 a.m. EST. But yeah, never trade the first few minutes of market open. Yeah. All right. Let's go to Ethereum, see what it's doing. Now, we did try to scalp Ethereum yesterday, and we did hit our first take profit, which is pretty good. We can see that we broke below this descending triangle. Is it descending? Yeah, descending triangle, right? Not a great look. We even retested the bottom of that triangle, and we still broke to the downside. We can see that the money flow is decreasing, right, significantly. However, we are getting our bottoming bars here on the 1 hour, and we are getting some sort of support here at our point of interest and our quantum reactor. Here on the 5 minutes, we are getting multiple bullish divergences, bullish volume, but in terms of price action, it's not exactly looking the best. Our point of interest is on the 5 minutes is at 2,000, so that does give me an idea, or at least the notion that we do push back to the upside. So for those that are unfamiliar with volume profile theory, essentially when you have your point of interest or the most traded volume, right, this candle right here represents the price with the most traded volume. When you break far below it and you create gaps like this, typically you see a violent move back to that point of interest to revisit and retest that level, as well as to basically liquidate some traders, because people will often put they enter market shorts right over here, right? So you go back there, you liquidate them, and you can potentially push back up to the next high volume node. Okay, so for Ethereum, we might not trade this, but we'll have to see. Generally speaking, let's look at Solana. So Solana's still in that. Oh no, gotta fix this. Yeah, that looks about better. So it's still relatively in a descending channel, but what I don't like about this descending channel is it does look like a bear flag. Not great. And if you do your projection, that does put you at about 35. So not a good look. It's very different from how you might look at Bitcoin's descending channel. Let's see here. Go back to fresh. Where there was a big push to the upside, right? And so this is essentially creating a bottoming structure rather than a bear flag, because you got this, you got this, then you got this, you got this. So you can push. It's not necessarily a bear flag directly, whereas with Solana, its its strength structure is part of that bear flag, or is part of the descending channel itself. So not a good look, right? You can get a Solana lower potentially. We did get a peak bottom signal, and we are seeing some bullish momentum return, right? So we could see a bounce for Solana. It is touching the FVG. It is nearing that midpoint line. So we could also trade this Solana back to the top of the channel, right? The 1 day seems to support that idea. Could look at that, and you can see we don't really get peak bottom signals on Solana unless it's truly some sort of bottom. So the last time we got a peak bottom was our move back to 100 in April of 2025, and we did push back up about how much did we push? We did push about 147% from there, right? So it's gonna be pretty decent. Yeah. Hey, Wisdom, welcome. Welcome to the show. Yeah, by the way, if you guys have any questions, just let me know, because we're only going to really set up some scalps probably 30 minutes from now. Let's let the market do its thing. Let me remove this very ugly drawing. Oh, it's not even. Okay, there we go. All right. Go back here. Excuse me. All right. Not liking this compression here. Let's look at precious metals. So this is an idea that I left to simmer, not an actual trade I took, but it could be prudent to take this trade eventually, right? So we do know that gold itself is going to push a little higher. We have targets for that. So potentially we could do something like this. Granted, the 12-hour does look like it wants to have a little bit more upside, so it might be prudent to go up this high, potentially back up to that FVG on the 1 hour, stop loss above it, and then take profit at the lower FVG right over here because it hasn't been touched. That would put you at the discount. We could also go down all the way to that 618. So I'll let this simmer, right? If I get a push above the premium back up to the channel, then I'll announce in my channel to take this short for gold. Going to silver. So I think it's a very similar idea here. So we can do something like this. Right, that would put you at the measured move right for silver and the FVG on the 12 hour. So could be interesting. We could see a decent short, right? That could be pretty fun. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna grab some tissue to blow my nose. All right, I am back. Hey Moses, welcome. Uh, yeah, if you guys again, Constantine or Moses, if you have questions, just let me know. If you want me to look at a certain coin or a certain asset, it doesn't have to be cryptocurrency or precious metals. Anything that's on TradingView, just let me know. Also, if you have any questions about the indicators or what I'm using, let me know as well. I'd love to chat with you guys. So let's go back to Bitcoin. Oops. So we did bounce off that prime block. Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah. Did bounce off that prime block. We are tracking this descending channel, which could potentially break to the downside, right? Now, again, in yesterday's stream, and you guys can check out the recording if you're interested, I did say that, we have multiple supports. We broke through two already. So we broke this one at 66.5. We broke this one, which is sort of that neckline that we made on our inverted head and shoulders on the 1 hour. And now we're here back on that shoulder. We could break down to the next support, which is right over here at about 64. Then this 63, right? Because this 4 hour is looking pretty bearish. Now, we could also just bounce off of this, right? Anything's possible. What I think is going to be more likely is that we want to take out a little bit more of the long liquidations. So let me stop sharing screen first and go back to our liquidation map. This hasn't refreshed, I don't think. So we could be at around here now. Yeah, so we're closer. And you can see that the clusters are getting even closer to price action. So you could see a move back down to about 64,000 and then a move back up. But what is true is that we are looking at about 2 times the amount of liquidations to the upside, right? Going down here, we can see on Hyperliquid that the most or the highest clusters are about 69,000. 7 days should be the same still, but we can go for these clusters, right? Because you get more liquidations if you go down compared to right here. But long term, of course, there's more liquidity to the upside. So knowing this FA, we can plot that 64,000 mark, see where it is, right? 64,000 places us at about from here. So let's say the next hour. See 64.2 places us actually around this area right here. So we're looking at this range, this area, and this is going to provide us with a fairly decent bounce. Now, might have been difficult to spot, so let me hide the indicators and draw that in. So this area right here is going to be a strong potential bounce zone. That said, we can bounce from this point if our prime block were to hold, if the support our previous week low were to hold. It is possible, right? But until we see confirmation of that, it's best not to trade. Let's go down to the 1 hour to potentially look for scalps. So if we close like this, we've basically engulfed the last hour, which is pretty bearish. However, we do have some bottoming bars, right? Now we are 5 for 5 with our scalps, uh, so maybe we can go 6 for 6 today. Well, we'll see. But yeah, I'll probably trade around 10:15 a.m. EST, or set up or start looking for a potential scalp. Oh, hey Rockstar, hey Joey, welcome to the show. I am Langstrom. Yeah, again, if you guys have questions about indicators or how I trade, or actually if you want my opinions on any asset, doesn't have to be crypto, just let me know, right? Open book. I promise I'm not gonna bite. But yeah, I'm actually very surprised because you guys are fresh faces for me. Yeah, none of my regulars are watching right now, which is interesting. Um, not complaining. Love meeting new people from the community. So yeah, again, ask away if you have any questions. Don't be shy. Any tips on setting up watch lists or alerts? Okay, uh, may may I ask what your trading view subscription is? Um, because at least for alerts on watch lists, you're gonna need, I believe, the premium plan, from what I recall, right? But if not, uh, oh, I see. But what about Trading View, like the platform itself? Do you have the subscription to the platform? Because those are okay, perfect. So if you have Trading View Premium, then it's going to be fairly easy to add an alert. So obviously you can just add an alert on the list by checking the watch list. But what I like doing, and how I added my alert here, right, is I click this. I went to Prime Oscillators Pro Plus. So you also have to basically determine what you're looking for or what your strategy is like. Are you a scalper? Are you a swing trader? Or do you trade more of the macro stuff, or more of an investor, right? Because that's going to influence how you, or what kind of alert you set on what time frame. So currently I have my alerts here for about 4 hours, right? I get my Prime Oscillator Pro Plus alerts every 4 hours. So how I do that? Let me actually, you know what? Let's open a fresh chart. I keep doing this every. What is it? The third fresh chart? Oh my goodness. Okay, just so there's no scribbles or anything, right? So 4 hour. Then what I do is go here, click these three buttons, right? Now, the reason I picked 4 hour is, or I chose 4 hour, is because I'm a swing trader by trade. Swing trader by trade. I'm more of a swing trader. There we go. So I chose the 4 hour because that's the higher time frame that I use to trade. Right? I'm a big advocate of multi time frame analysis, top bottom approach. So if you're a scalper, you may want to set your alerts every 1 hour, right? If you're a swing trader, 4 hour, even 12 hour will work. If you're more of a position trader, or just you're in it just to invest, 1 day, 1 week is probably going to be better, because you also have to consider how it's going to interact with your routine, right? Because I get my alerts on my phone every 4 hours, or yeah. So for example, uh, I had like a whole slew of alerts from TradingView, right? Quite a while ago. Yeah. So I don't know if it's gonna translate well. Maybe I should lower my brightness. But essentially, I get a whole slew of alerts on my phone, and that gives me an idea of what I might want to look at. So I chose the 4 hour. So you add alert, and then what you can do here, right? If you make your list, it'll appear here in the symbols. So then you can set an alert on the whole list. And from there, you just add whatever coin you like or whatever asset you like onto the list. And it becomes that easy. So Chart Prime also lets you pick what alerts you want, so you don't need to have everything, right? I just want to know if there are divergences, if you're oversold, overbought, if there's a reversal triangle, peak bottom, peak sell, right? Uh, and then trigger interval. So this sort of consolidates the time at which you get your alerts, which means you don't have to spend all day looking at the charts. Because the fact of the matter is, trading should give you financial freedom. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to absolutely stare at the charts every single minute of every single day, right? So you want to just set alerts, and then your prime oscillator will tell you when you need to look. Now, you can see that I do have alerts here on price action, right? And the reason I have alerts is because I'm basically setting alerts at certain levels that I find interesting. So for example, if we go back to 62,396, I know we've basically tapped this wick right here, and we're potentially going back down, or we're at the bottom of the descending channel that I lovingly drew. So this should actually be up here, and this should be over here. But because, yeah. So if we go back down here, I know that we're back at the bottom of the channel, right? If we go here, I know we've basically broken below this support. If we go here, I know we've broken out of the descending channel, and we've broken out of this prime block. So you want to set alerts at levels that would induce some sort of action, right? If we break out here, I'm going to wait for a retest, enter long. Now I do have a long around here, this region right here. So that's for scalping purposes. Now if I go here, I know we broke above, or we got above the FVG, and we've basically changed the trend completely. So set alerts at levels that upon analysis would influence or change the way in which you view this market, right? But if we break below here, then we should probably frame some shorts for the capitulation to the downside. But yeah, I hope that answers your questions. Now, you can also do that with J Bravo indicators. Yeah, right here. But as far as I understand, let's see if I have whale kit. Yeah, you can, right? Count 9 bullish. Right, you just pick which ones you want, and then same thing. Yeah, you're very welcome. Okay, let's go over here. Oh no, it's this one. Okay, so it's 11:02. We got the 1 hour close. I mean, it's not great. It's not great, right? We did technically close below the body of the last candle, but this is more of a consolidation than it is an engulfing candle, right? This is basically the same candle in a different font. So that's not very clear. But we can see is that we just printed a bullish divergence, and we got our reversal triangle. This was here earlier, the diamond shift and the reversal triangle, but the bullish divergence is new. We also got a diamond shift here on the 5 minutes. So I'm going to wait for this 5-minute close, see if we can get above this line of resistance. If we can, I'd probably frame just a quick scalp long, something like this, with the stop loss below the channel, right? And then, oops, my bad. I want to grab that. And then I'll probably aim to take profit at the chick magnet or the next high volume node, which is over here. So it looks like the stop loss is a little big, so we might want something like this. Get a better risk to reward ratio, right? You don't want it to be too near the last candle because they tend to go for that, right? But if we break above that, we can do something like this. Go for that FVG. Get a nice 1 to 1.8 risk to reward. So this is an idea. Now, regular viewers, although my regular viewers I don't think are here at all, regular regular viewers of mine will know that uh, I, I I distinguish trade ideas and endorsements. So trade idea, I'm just letting it chill there, letting it stick there, so I can review them later. And then endorsements are actual. I am in this trade as well. Let's go. So not an endorsement just yet, because imagine if I said, "Oh yeah, let's hop in right now," and we would have died. We would have absolutely died. We lost that diamond shift. So very important to wait for the close. This is fairly bearish, which means we can go back down here. So we can adjust, right? Can adjust to the move. But that's just an idea for now because this looks pretty bad. Kind of don't want to take a long on that, right? But we still have 55 minutes for the hourly close. So let's just wait and see what happens. Okay, so 5 minute close, not that great, but it is yellow, so that does mean that it's sort of neutral in strength. Hidden bullish divergence. So we can wait for this candle close and then hop in if it's fairly strong, right? If it's fairly strong, we can hop in. Yeah, just a quick scalp. I wonder if we can get 6 for 6. That would mean 2 weeks in a row of just correct scalps. uh, yeah. Oh, that is a pretty strong move. Okay. Alright. Now, if we can close higher above that wick, that would be fantastic. Yeah. Um. Well, if fees are your concern, right? Some platforms, I mean, there's always downsides to going or downside going with a platform that doesn't have fees. So one platform I know of that does not have fees is Mexc. So MEXC. Um, they it's part of their big promotion of, yeah, we have zero fees. My main concern with Mexi is that there was a point in time where I've just found their operation kind of shady. Essentially, there were just way too much Bitcoin outflows, which could mean that, it's more likely to be another FTX. Uh, but I do think that because Mexi just posts or just carries every shitcoin you can think of, every rug pull you can think of, they're probably making money through that. So they might not be another FTX, but again, it's something you have to sort of weigh the cost benefit of. So personally, I trade with Blowfin. That's who Chart Prime's affiliated with, and you can use our Prime automation with. But I do understand that the fees, albeit it is fairly competitive with the rest of the industry, I do understand the fees themselves sort of kill you slowly if you trade for such a long time. But I personally use Blowfin, which is why it's what I'm using here, and I can testify for Blowfin. Although if you are in the U.S., I do believe some states can't use Blowfin. So yeah, that's something to worry about. Yeah, Coinbase has one of the highest fees, but it is one of the more popular and widespread ones. But it also has one of the highest fees. So I don't normally recommend Coinbase, but it is the more reliable one, I would say. Um, but yeah, if you're in the USA, it's a little difficult to trade with Blowfin. You could use a VPN, but there are some regulations around that, and you could face some sort of penalty. So I wouldn't suggest that, right? Uh, so yeah, just do your own research. But if I had to recommend one, it's also difficult because I don't know which exchanges are allowed in the US and which aren't. Yeah. um, yeah. If you're okay with the potential risks, now I still use MEXC to this day, just for currency conversion. So I haven't really lost anything security wise in MEXC. If you're concerned about security, uh, so yeah, I'd say maybe look into MEXC. Yeah, absolutely. We're not gonna promote that here. Yeah, I think we can probably enter a scalp here. So I'm gonna tell everyone market entry. Uh, yeah, and then put this by this point. Yep. Okay. So I'm gonna enter market. Uh, and I'm gonna tell everyone to enter as well. Yeah. All right. Let's look for the first TP here. Oh yeah, I do about 25x leverage because I do 0.5% of my margin. So, uh, if you're doing isolated margin, I'd recommend something along the lines of maybe 5 or 10x leverage, and then just a little bit of your margin or a little bit of your portfolio. Don't go too heavy. That's insane. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's just do it here. Or we can just put it at resistance. Why not? So 66 4 so oh no we can do 66 66 500 oh 460 for first take profit SL to BE final take profit at about 67 387. Wonder if we can go 6 for 6. That would be great if we could. that should about post now. Okay. Yeah, okay. So in this trade, entered about 60.6029. A little bit of drawdown. Hopefully we don't close this weekly or weekly this week. But yeah, let it run. I mean, we had a little bit of drawdown in yesterday's scalp, so that was okay. Yeah. All right. Welcome back, Lin Ching Yao. Welcome, Firstman. I'm Langestrom, and again, oh, I also see that Gaines. Do correct me if I'm butchering it. My bad. But yeah, welcome, guys. So I'm Langstrom, and if you guys have any questions, indicators, assets, anything you want me to look at, just let me know. We still have about 45 minutes on the stream, so plenty of time to get the questions in. Don't be shy. I'm not gonna bite. I absolutely promise. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me for tonight's show, or at least it's night where I'm at. Probably morning for you guys. So yeah. Yeah, looks like the coins are, well, it's kind of fighting right now. I do want to get above this wick, right? If we can close above this wick, then we've got a bullish engulfing candle, which means that we most likely will have a continuation to the upside. But if not, then we might get SL, which would end my streak at 5 for 5 and not 6 for 6, which would suck. Oh man. But yeah. Okay. So I guess now it's just a waiting game. Again, if you guys have any coins you want me to look at, even precious metals, doesn't have to be coins, right? Just let me know. Yeah. Don't be shy. In the meantime, I guess we can look at how USDT dominance is looking. So yesterday, right, we were saying that this could potentially close to the downside, but clearly it did not. It pushed to the upside, right? It pushed to the upside, and it is printing a potential transition back to bullish, which does not spell well for the cryptocurrency market. Now, for those who have never heard of USDT dominance, essentially it's just how are the percentage of crypto holders that are holding their cryptocurrency in USDT, which means that they're not buying or converting to actual cryptocurrency coins, and therefore, right, it doesn't spell well. So this could continue to the upside. It will face resistance at the previous week high, and of course there are points, or there are instances in which it gets rejected, such as here, but overall, right, gotta watch that. Someone chatted AVAX. Yeah, let's look at AVAX. Let's go to this one. Let's pull up AVAX. All right, so in terms of your macro setting, so 1 hour, 12 hour, if you want to swing this, you're being held by support. 1 hour is in my no trade zone. So no trade for me is when you're in between your quantum and dynamic reactors. You are sitting on an FVG. You are getting weakening bearish trend strength. You are sort of bottoming out, and potentially what we could be seeing is a break above your fluid zero line, which translates to this move to the upside, right? But then you're sort of going to test that fluid zero line again, so you could break back down to that prime block, and then if it's successful, and it's more likely to be successful because of the fact you're getting less outflow, which means you're going back toward neutral, and your momentum is overall bullish, right, that will translate to a lower time frame push to the upside, which means when you get here, you're more likely to push back to the upside. So I would set alerts, right, if you want to trade or potentially even spot buy. I would just set alerts at about 8.4, which is our prime block, and then call it a day. You could also set an alert at 8.8 because it could break to the downside, right? But you can see that the highest traded volume price or the next node is about 8.2, so you can even visit that level, right? You do have a short position or a short measured move all the way to 7.7, which is possible. You didn't really fill this wick, so if you know wick theory, or if you subscribe to that, right? When you get a long wick like this, you usually fill about 70 to 90%. So it's about 9%, which means your 7% is about 6.3%. 6.3. No. There we go. 7.771. So if we grab a horizontal ray, put it at this point, yeah, it's about at your measured move, right? So you can go back to your measured move potentially. So just set alerts. I personally will keep this on my watch list. So I'll just set alerts like this, and at this point, see what happens. Yeah. Very interesting. Thank you for bringing AVAX up. I haven't really looked at AVAX for a while. Oh yeah, one thing that we were supposed to look at was BCH, Bitcoin Cash, because it was performing fairly poorly to the I mean it. This is fairly poor compared to the rest of the market, but the reason you want to look at underperformers is because you can see stuff like this on higher time frames. So we are in a descending channel. So what I'll do for Bitcoin Cash, I'll set an alert down here, right? Potentially long that bottom channel if it doesn't break to the downside, because it does look like you are going to get a little bit more downside. And the reason why altcoins are performing fairly differently to the rest of the market is if you look at Bitcoin dominance, so it's this chart to the right, it is decreasing, right? It is going to a point where, I should probably update this. It is decreasing. So alts are getting slightly independent from Bitcoin, right? And that means that Bitcoin will still pull coins up and down, but in terms of impact, they're not going to be as crazy as before. Do you think the wick fill on AVAX would be worth a swing trade? Absolutely. I mean, if you get that, right, if price goes there, it would absolutely be worth the swing trade. So let's go back to AVAX. That's not how you spell AVAX. Yeah, so 7.782, right? If it heads down there, you set that long position. You can set your stop loss fairly liberally, and then just trade it back up to the next high volume node. So 12. You can trade it back up here, but I wouldn't do that, just for safety. But you can see that it is a 1 to 4, and you have a fairly generous stop loss. And this is the 12-hour chart. So yeah. If it gets to this point, that would be a great swing trade in my opinion. Right? If it gets here as well, if it goes here, you're able to catch it. This is also a great place to get it. I think it's worth the risk, absolutely. Okay, so we're getting indecision candles. Not great. But we are staying above the 618 generally. I kind of want to break a certain way, right? If this breaks down, then we take the hit. My streak has ended. If it breaks up, then we should be okay. What is the likelihood we break to the upside rather than the downside? Hey, Ben Cooper, welcome. Let's look at our fundamental analysis again. And That's why I'm such a big advocate of fundamental analysis. Because while chart prime gives us the best tools for technical analysis, it's also important to still look at fundamentals because it gives you more context behind what the technicals, which is already being made incredibly easy by chart prime, is telling you. So looking at, okay, let's refresh this. So we should see some move to the upside, right? So we can see that there's basically no liquidity at this point. So it's sort of deciding which way it wants. If it goes up here, right, you do get a little bit more clusters. However, you do have larger clusters to the upside. I mean, it's 1 versus 2, right? And this is a gap right here, so that will be like your fixed volume range profile theory. So it's still deciding. We're not really sure what it wants just yet, and that's okay. Welcome, Timothy Ronald, to the show. We still have about 36 minutes, 35 minutes on the show. So, again, if anyone has questions, ask away. I'm not going to bite. I promise. Yeah, I'm still leaving a lot of wicks. Not good. That's a very fun profile picture. Xia Puhui. I assume it's Chinese. But I'm not sure about the tones. Do you ever trade H-bar? I have traded H-bar in the past. Oh, Techwell, welcome. You're like the first regular. This is... Hey, welcome. I don't know why Daga hasn't shown up, but yeah, lovely seeing you. Yes, I have traded H-bar in the past. It's not something... Actually, it's on my watch list. I believe it's on my watch list. Where is it? Huh. I guess I didn't put it on my watch list. Probably why. But yeah, let's actually look at H-bar. Hedera. Okay. Huh. So Hedera has something very similar going on with AVAX, but unlike... So it has broken out of that really low descending channel. But your 1 hour wants downside. So how you make sense of this is that the 1 hour is probably going to a point to retest the channel, right? Because when you break out a channel, typically it follows a retest. The question is, does this make sense for the 1 hour? And if we draw this line, it does place you at the prime block, so I don't think you get to the measured move, but somewhere around this range makes a lot of sense. So I'd set alerts for H-bar at your 618, slightly higher than the 618. So this point right here, you could get a push to the downside. That could be a decent long opportunity. You retest that level that you broke out of, potential move to the upside. Yeah. But do note that your 1 hour is nearing oversold and it is bottoming out. Entry criteria, that is a great question. So if you do forget it, I do have a video. Hold on, I'll just grab some tissue. Give me 1 sec, guys. So I have varying entry criteria. Um, but what I'm looking for is essentially a high probability entry. So I mean that's as vague and as general as it gets. But what's a high probability entry, right? If we have confluences on our oscillators, we also have confluences on price action. So high probability entry would be anywhere from your prime blocks or order blocks, depending on which ones you like. Because I'm a contrarian trader, so I like to trade against the market, because that's how banks trade. It's a if you if you've studied financial econs or banking finance, right, you'll understand that banks trade counter cyclical in order to promote a healthy economy. So that's sort of the mindset that I've adopted, and in prime blocks in market dynamics is designed specifically for liquidity and potential reversals, which is why I use, where is it? Right here. So prime blocks is what I use. If you're a trend following trader, so a traditional trend following approach, order blocks are probably better for you. So I look for high probability entries, whether that's prime blocks. It could also be support, like these green lines we see here. It could be high volume nodes from our fixed volume range profile. And then another thing I'm going to want is there an FVG? Because an FVG, fair value gap, indicates liquidity on the chart. And that's liquidity because of the trading algorithm. So if there was no algorithm to give fair value in the markets, any whale and anything can just pump and dump every single minute of the trade, and no one would make money, right? So algorithms like to leave fair value gaps. Now, you don't see any here on the 12-hour, but you see here on the 1 hour, right? So a high probability setup, for example, on a short would be if we came back here, this area right here could be a great entry for a scalp short, right? If you can get above it, right? If this was oversold and we had the bottoming bars and this was starting to transition, this area right here where you have the POC, point of interest, and a prime block and an FVG would be a high probability entry. So you're looking for high probability entries. And if you look at some of the signals I've given in the past, some of them I signaled like 2 weeks before price action ever hit that price, and then they succeeded in reaching their final take profit. So with this approach, you can essentially project and futures, right? You can potentially project positions even way before it happens, right? Is there a little bit of gambling involved? Yes. But is it educated, high probability gambling? I mean, that's probably how you should be gambling in the first place. And that's what's great about trading. It's about discipline. It's about taking high probability trades, and it's the discipline behind them. So let's go back to the scalp. I hope I answered your question, by the way. So the scalp. So why did I enter here? So I entered this point because point of interest. We're also being supported by the 618. We got a hidden bullish divergence. It could fail in my face, but I wouldn't be angry, right? Because I trust my system. We had a bullish divergence on the higher time frame. We got bottoming bars. We have a move from the MVP ribbon, right? There's a lot of confluence here. Where can I find? You think we won't go higher? I've got a massive entry with. I mean, the thing is, I do think there's a good chance we do get up like to 70K, right? The premium on the 1 hour is at 70K. So I do, there is a world in which I do think we go to 70K. I'm just not sure if it's on the weekend or Monday, or if we're gonna capitulate first and then head up. Because zooming out, right? Zooming out onto the 4 hour, for example, and then let's remove all the indicators, right? Zooming out on the 4 hour, right? You could go back down to this line. You could go back all the way to 61,000 and still be in a descending channel, not breaking structure. And this would technically still be bullish, right? Because if you go back down here, you're just making a double bottom. So it's possible, right? Now liquidity and leverage tells you that there's more liquidity to the upside. So that is sort of the copium there. But it's really hard to tell. With the PPI data that came out, markets the US is going through stagflation, so they're probably going to do some supply side policies. Excuse me. But at this point in time, it's kind of difficult to tell. I do think it would be great, right? I mean, it's always great to basically get a move up. Now, what I am noticing, right, is our reactors are getting really close to price action. The last time we were really close to price action like this, we were caught in a range, and now it's coming back. So the closer the reactors are, the more likely you are to break above them, or you get rejected by them, right? Like at this point, you got below the reactors, you tested twice, you got rejected. You go back here, let's see what happens, right? But right now, 4 hour is not on our side. Its momentum technically is on our side, but also it's not currently on our side. right? We still have about 26 minutes on the hourly close. We do want a stronger close than this. This isn't a good close, but this could be a potential move back to the upside like that, but we'll have to see. Where can I find reading material on what you were about in regards to the way? Um, for the reading material, okay, for the reading material, it's it's a university textbook. Let me double check. So the only reason I know this is because I'm taking a degree in economics. So yeah, that's sort of how I know about the counter cyclical nature of banks. But for the stuff about fair value algorithm and how it works, there's a lot of YouTube material on it. We have some documentation on docs.chartprime.com as well for fair value gaps if you want to read it. So I believe it's just that. You can just type that into your browser. Uh, Let me look for the name of the book. Was it 113? Yeah, so it's called Mishkin Frederick Economics of Money Banking Financial Market. I should just type that down. Yeah, I love prime blocks too. So, uh, if it's any consolation or any assurance about sort of the quality and what I'm talking about, I I am getting a degree in economics, so I do have some knowledge of what I'm talking about. And my professor, um, well, not only does he have a PhD in economics, he got it from uh, what was his university again? It was yeah. I know he's one of the national advisors for economics here, so they always listen to him, and on top of that, he graduated from oh shoot Fordham, yeah, Fordham University in New York. That's where he also got his PhD. So in terms of banking, I kind of know what I'm saying, to a degree, right? Not not a PhD, not a doctor in economics, but yeah, love the guy. Quite a terror prof though. Uh, yeah. So that's the name of the book. So what's the difference between prime blocks and order blocks? Yeah, it's not looking good. Um, with order blocks, it's sort of your traditional. It's based on price action market structure. So right, you can have it attuned or original. Uh, and what I found is that if you're doing trend following strategies or a trend following approach like Runaire, uh, then it works really well. The difference between prime blocks and order blocks is that prime blocks take in account liquidity. So notice how whenever prime blocks spawn, it's looking at price action, but also it spawns near wicks. Right now, that's not to say order blocks won't spawn near wicks, but typically they spawn towards bigger candles. So something like this would probably. Oh no, this is not a good example of an order block. Uh, yeah. So notice again, lots of wicks for when you get prime blocks. Order blocks would, what? Let's just put put. It's gonna look ugly, so probably best to just turn off everything else. No, we can keep that on. Okay, let's hide the drawings. Alright, let's just turn this on. Alright, it's calculating. You can calculate faster. I believe in you. Okay, it's done. Where did it get? It's probably all the way up here. No, now it's hard to tell if it's even there. Uh, Probably not a good example. Yeah, no. These are still prime blocks. Okay, so there's no order blocks at the present. Oh no, let's just put all because I changed it to loud. So it might spawn now because there's gonna be. But yeah, okay, they're perfect, right? So you can change the ratings as well. Loud is the most relevant one. Try pattern diamond. Yeah, so sorry, my bad, Tekwo. I didn't see this. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. We can see. We could get there. Yeah. So, you can change the sensitivity. I prefer loud because the rest is just kind of noisy, right? And it sort of removes the need to show the rating. But you can see that prime blocks and order blocks spawn fairly differently. So this right here is a prime block, and it's basically getting these points where we had massive candles, right? This right here is considered a block to the order block, but what matters for prime blocks is over here, right? And that makes sense because this would be more of a retest. This right here would be more of a potential reversal. Same here, right? This there are candle like long wicks, but this is more of a block in and of itself. So order blocks appear there, and they can overlap. Just because they have a different purpose doesn't mean they can't overlap. But it sort of shrinks down your scope, and it matters what approach you have. If you're more like Runaire and you trade based on the trend, order blocks are better because they give you insight on where retests will be, right? But then if you're more like me, a contrarian, then you want insights on reversals or potential points at which price could reverse. So prime blocks are going to be better. Yeah, it's all just about strategy, and you can just fine tune everything. The difference is also on docs.chartprime.com. Yeah. Oh, nice. Nice. That's good. I mean, right now for scalping, I do trend following, right? But then for swinging, I do what's contrarian reversals. But right now, because of how the market is, I just did like a main reversal a couple what was it weeks ago. I'm still holding it, I believe. Yeah, I'm still holding it. Like right, I'm still in it. Um, let's see if we can we can break past it. Hopefully, but yeah, not a fun prime block. Hate that prime block. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's basically the difference between them. I hope it helps. Okay, USDT dominance. It is pushing up. Not a good sign. Excuse me. So we still have 20 minutes on the show. Let's see who is in here. Hey Ben Cooper. Oh, yeah, it's Moses and Ben Cooper. Thank you guys for joining me on this Friday evening here in Asia. Okay. No, it's probably a terrible time to get a cold because I have a entrance exam in just a couple of days. Oh man. All right, so looks like we are pushing up here on silver. Yeah, so again, this is clearly a case of me looking for reversals, which is at the FVG, potentially at the 618. If we go to the 1 day, I wonder how this looks like. Oh, market dynamics doesn't want to load. Might be too early, actually. We could potentially push back up here, right? But the 12-hour does say it's an FEG. Right, let's try to reload that. Nope. Okay, doesn't want to load. I guess not. Yeah, just leave that as an idea for now. Alright, let's go back to the scalp. It's probably not doing that. I mean, we've been here for so long. Needs to decide. Uh, oh, I hope it gives me 6 for 6. I hope it gives me 6 for 6. But yeah, we are at the mercy of the market. Okay, and this is XRP. Okay. XRP also broke out. Kind of weird structure. Kind of want to see what happens if it goes to 1.3. Excuse me. Can you tell me what the new signals on the the yellow dot and the red and green? Oh yeah, absolutely. So, the yellow dot, which I have changed to a tag. So let's go to the style. Oh, okay, no, it's not there. So, this yellow dot, which I changed to a tag, is money flow divergence. So essentially, at this point, even if money flow was positive, it's saying that there was a divergence in money flow. So you can expect that money flow is weakening. Money inflow is weakening, and so money outflow is probably increasing, right? So it's another form of potential reversal. It's a signal of, it's a leading indicator essentially that at this point, even if you're not overbought, you are potentially seeing weakness in price action, because the only way to really push up is to have money flow, volume pushing you toward. Okay, but yeah, there's another thing we have to think about or distinguish: the difference between money flow and volume. So I haven't found the best analogy for it, but the way I've always understood it is, if volume is the number of people who bought tickets, money flow refers to the number of people who bought merchandise after buying the ticket. And then money outflow is probably those who refunded their ticket. So, for example, at this point, a lot of people bought tickets to a concert, and these people also love the merch, and then they bought more, right? So good volume, good money flow. But you can see that people started either not buying tickets, right? And people started refunding their tickets, which led you to this pattern. Now, what this diamond right here, so a green diamond and a red diamond, are interesting because they're more so based on the price action, and it's just a trend. Is it a trend divergence? Diamond shift. Yeah, it's a shift in trend. So at this point, you basically had a downtrend, but then the green diamond showed up, indicating and confirming that there was a trend shift back to the upside. So we look here, trend shift. We got a trend shift diamond. There's a trend shift back to the downside, right? So yeah, another good example probably over here. You got an upside. Diamond confirms a trend shift. You got downside. Same here. Although this isn't that great, you got a trend shift back to the upside. Yeah, XRP. Let's go back to Bitcoin. See how it's doing. Yes, go back, please. Get over the wicks, please. I consider first take profit SL to be a win. Yeah. Oh, the little tree arrows as well. I do have it turned off. So um, this one, signal up and down, right? It is your VWAP OBOS. So it's another sort of uh, reversal signal or overbought, oversold based on your volume weighted average price. Now, the reason I don't like it that much is I find that it can lag a little bit because, of course, volume weighted average price is dependent on getting the weighted average of volume with price. So sometimes it's a little bit inaccurate. I don't use all of it. I don't use it at all. So I turned it off. But feel free to explore. What I would recommend though is if you're gonna turn on VWAP OBOS, you gotta turn off something. You gotta turn off signals or overbought, oversold. You have to, if you can only have like two of these, that I find that to be the best permutation so that it's not too painful on the eyes and you don't get mixed signals and it starts getting confusing. Yeah. Those aren't on the documentation yet. It's on the trading view uh it's on the trading view, what's this thing? Yeah, the docs here. It's on the explanation here. So not down there. Yeah. So this is the volume inspired signals. So that's your VWAP OBOS. Uh, blah 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 blah. Yeah. Yeah, here. Money flow divergence and diamond shift showing change in market direction. So yeah. Let's go back. Damn, it's not closing the way I want it to. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. I do see we have a lot more people. Welcome C527. Damn, that's a Star Wars droid name, but that's really cool. And one useless eater. Welcome, guys. Lucky for you, I am a drinker, so. Yeah. Okay. All right. I hope the scalp plays out fairly well. Uh, yeah. I mean, it should, ideally. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. And for anyone here, if you have any questions or anything you want me to look at, just let me know. I'm not gonna bite, I promise. And in case you want to revisit this later on, I am recording this stream, so it should be. I'll try to get it posted within the next 2 hours because I have to like lower the file size so YouTube accepts it easier. So yeah. Where can we find the recorded streams? If you scroll down to the side, it'll appear in class recordings under live education. So you can also see the stream I recorded yesterday with a couple of my regulars. Yeah. And of course, you get to see me scalp live as well and analyze live. So because it is the end of the week, I do want to look closely at um, where we are on Bitcoin for the weekly, right? So we are making lower lows. Technically, we are closing lower lows, right? But we haven't really closed or even wick below the dump and the on Feb 2. Now there's still 2 days and 9 hours, and it's possible that we close back at about 67675, which would mean a potential reversal back to at least the FBG at about 70. What is this? 73,000. Now we do have a chick magnet, and for our Bravo subscribers, that basically tells you potential price targets as well as where price wants to go. I use it as potential price targets. I don't really think of it as a magnet, but it is sort of reassuring or comforting that it thinks that we want upside. Is it 100% right all the time? Absolutely not. No indicator is 100% right. But this does give us better insight. Now, if you look, excuse me, at fundamental analysis, it does say that in terms of liquidity, we want to go back to this prime block, right? And that would be a retest of this support now turned resistance that we just fell out of. So it would make sense for a move back to this area, but like I've been saying on previous streams, I do think we make a lower high, and then we head back down. So historically speaking, Bitcoin has always, we've been discussing the fact that Bitcoin might not always follow the 4-year cycle, but in this case, it did. It followed the 4-year cycle. So February does always see a dump, but towards the first week of March, you see a pump of about 20%, 27%. And we can see that over here. So let's go back to March. Oh no, February. Here. So got that move. So you can see Feb 21, 2022, right? You got to move back to the upside close to 40%. So it's not always going to be 1-to-1, but the fact of the matter is that that's what we have historically. And of course, that led to a further capitulation to the downside. So I do expect that. Right. So this Feb 21, Feb 2, Feb 21. Okay. Let's say here, right? We plot 40%. I mean, that puts us smack dab at that range near 89,000. And that would allow us to retest that resistance. But of course, if that is the case, then we are going to capitulate back down to this prime block most likely. Or even lower to about this volume node right here. So what I am hoping, or what I am expecting to see, I don't know why, I'm just trying to remove this arrow. But what I am expecting to see is some move to the upside because of liquidity, right? Your MVP ribbon is so at the bottom extremity. The last time this has happened was over here, and we did get some relief, right? We did get some relief. So I do foresee a move back to the upside, form a lower high, and then capitulate down, liquidate as much people, bear market, then we accumulate. And that would be how you make generational wealth. So yeah. 66101, it's probably not doing as well. Really, you could have closed higher. Oh man. But yeah. We still have 4 minutes on the show, so again, if anyone has any questions, Nairam, Percival, welcome. If you have any questions or any last minute follow-ups, just let me know. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I should probably test this while waiting. But yeah. It might. Not that I'm looking for saving, but would be fun. And yeah, this is what I'm saying. This could go oversold. This could be a bounce. Yeah. Granted, there's an FEG right here, so I don't know. But we'll see. I don't really look at the 2 hour. More of a 1 hour, 4 hour kind of guy. But that is a very interesting candle structure. If it can close lower than, sorry, not lower. If it can close higher than that, that would be great. Right? But long wick to the upside, that means there's buy pressure. Or, yeah. buying pressure, pushing price up. Yeah, we still have sub 2 minutes left on the show. So if anyone has any questions or anything they want to ask, just let me know. It doesn't even have to be trading related. I mean, go ahead, knock yourselves out. What do I? Yeah, okay. Ta-da. Sorry. Okay. 50 minutes. Lots of things can happen. 50 minutes. 50 seconds, not 50 minutes. Yeah. Oh, Hugh Hector, welcome. Oh, yeah, welcome. A little late to the show, but thank you for dropping by. But yeah. Oh, I believe that's the one that's still on beta, right? Sorry, I love I love Biscoff, but yeah. I've tried it before. I haven't gotten the hang of it, and there's scarce documentation, so I'm not really I don't really use it too often. But yeah, when it's done being tested properly, then I'll give it a shot. But yeah, it looks like that's the end of the stream. The 5 minute point of control did move to this level, so now we have support for our scalp. We did get a ribbon twist with that bearish divergence, so that indicates at least some move back to the upside. But with that said, thank you guys for joining me on today's stream. The next stream is going to be on next week, Wednesday, same time at 9:30 a.m. EST. And once again, I am Langstrom. Thank you for joining me, and don't forget to always use a stop loss. I'll see you guys next week. Take care and safe trading.